Politics. President Trump tweeting this morning. Here we go. Spygate could be one of the biggest political scandals in history. And he tweeted this out, too. Look how things have turned around on the criminal deep state. They go after phony collusion with Russia, a made-up scam, and end up getting caught in a major spy scandal, the likes of which this country may never have seen before. What goes around comes around. All right, come on in, please. Senator John Kennedy, Republican from Louisiana. The president is coming out swinging, Mr. Senator. Do you approve of that?
Well, he's entitled to. I mean, everybody else is coming out swinging at him. He's entitled to swing back.
Well, has he got a point? I mean, do you think there was, I mean, would you use the word...
I lost your audio.
I'm sorry. Can you hear me?
I can't hear you, man.
He lost. I tell you what, we'll hold on with the senator for a moment.
No, here I am. I got you back.
Okay. Would you use the word spy as an informant inside the Trump campaign? You okay with the spy word?
I don't mind that he uses it. I mean, the president's very frank. He says what's on his mind. I try to do the same thing. He has his own style, and all he's done is do what every other American has a right to do. He's contacted the FBI and said, I want you to conduct an investigation. Somebody from Justice or the FBI was asking a lot of questions in the middle of my campaign, and I, as a citizen and as president, would like to know what's going on. Now, I have the right to ask for any investigation I want. You have the right to ask for an investigation. The people who tried to report the behavior of the shooter in Parkland in Florida had the right to ask for an investigation. And it's up to the FBI and the Justice Department to decide whether to do an investigation and what to investigate.
But, Mr. Senator, my question was, do you approve? I know he's got the right to say what he wants to say, but do you...
I would not have used the word... Let me answer it. I would not have used the word spy, but that's just me. I'm not going to tell the president what words he can use and what he can't. I've got enough trouble paddling my own canoe.
Okay. Do you approve of this more aggressive approach that the president is taking?
I think he's certainly entitled to do it. I mean, I don't know what I would do under the circumstances. I believe I would fight back. And the president, I mean, I know he's been criticized, Stuart, for sticking up for himself, but he is entitled to. Every American is entitled to. Now, is it always prudent? Does it frustrate his lawyers? I'm sure it does. And I've suggested before to the president that, you know, tweeting a little less wouldn't cause brain damage, but he likes to tweet. I mean, and that's his prerogative as an American.
So you are the master of one-liners. You are a soundbite machine. So can you handle this one for us, briefly? Tell us about the bill that you've authored aimed at draining the swamp. Give me a one-liner.
It's going to inform senators and congressmen if they've been meeting with somebody who's been convicted of trying to bribe a congressman. All it's going to do is amend the Lobbying Disclosure Act that says if you've been convicted of fraud or bribery or kickbacks, you have to disclose it. I was shocked to learn that when you register as a lobbyist, you don't have to disclose whether you've ever been convicted of fraud, for example. And it's not going to, this bill's not earth-shaking. It's not going to bring peace to our time. But I think it fills a gap that needs to be filled.
Okay, Senator Kennedy, always a pleasure. Thank you very much for joining us, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Your vote in 2018 is every bit as important as your vote in 2016. Although I'm not sure I really believe that, but, you know. I don't know who the hell wrote that line.
That was President Trump last night at an event in Washington. All jokes aside, the midterms are a high priority for the GOP to make sure they do not lose any ground in Congress. Joining me right now is Republican National Committee Chairwoman Ronna Romney McDaniel. Ron, it's good to see you this morning. Thanks so much for joining us.
Always great to be here. Thanks for having me, Maria.
You know, it's feeling increasingly like this vote in November is just as important as it was in 2016.
It is. I mean, we are on an economic turnaround in this country. We are on a historic comeback. And we cannot lose that edge. And if we turn the House back over to the Democrats, we know what happens in Washington. It is closed for business for the American people. And if you want to continue to see jobs coming to this country, record unemployment, you want to see wages going up, we need to keep Republicans in the majority.
Well, Nancy Pelosi has already said, you know, when and if she becomes Speaker, her words, she's going to raise taxes and she's going to redo and take away the tax reform plan. So I don't know why she went so public saying that, but she's basically navigating this as far as saying she wants to redo what President Trump has put in place, and that includes raising taxes.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting to see the Democrat Party and where they're going right now. You saw last night the progressive wing of the party continues to win. What do they want? They want more government in your lives. They want you to take home less money in your paycheck. They want to shut down our economy. They want to go back to low economic growth, which we saw under the Obama administration. I don't think that's a winning strategy for the American people who are now seeing that their lives are better because of President Trump, because of the policies he's put forward. And I see it all across the country. People feel good about their lives. They feel like their jobs are better, their opportunities are better, and they're going to vote for the party that's putting that in place for them in November.
And yeah, we had four states yesterday in terms of primaries. One big race people were watching. A runoff is now set for the GOP gubernatorial race in Georgia. The winner faces Stacey Abrams, who is making history as the first black woman in the country to run for governor. What do you see as yesterday's primary saying about where fundraising help is needed for the midterms on your side?
Well, in Georgia, we did see more Republicans turn out in the primary than Democrats. A 10-point margin in favor of Republican turnout. That's great for us in that state. We want to keep that governor's seat. Obviously, Nathan Deal, who's leaving the governor's mansion in Georgia, has done a great job, and we want to continue that trend for that state. What I'm seeing from an RNC perspective is that the money we're investing in the states we're in around the country, the 26 states we're in, is making a difference. Our turnout has been high in these primaries. Our generic ballot is narrowing. Yesterday, you saw for the first time Republicans leading in the generic ballot, which means that our message that we're taking to voters, that Republicans have delivered on promises, that our military is stronger, that ISIS is on the run, that we're putting in good judicial candidates on the bench, that your wages are up, that the economy is doing better, that we have more jobs. People are feeling that. They see it. There's more optimism out there, and they know that it's because of Republican leadership, because Democrats have sat on their hands the last year and a half. They voted against the tax cuts. And what are they putting forward as their vision for this country?
Well, they are resisting. The strategy is #resist. Now, you just mentioned the ballot, the generic ballot. This was for the first time this election cycle. Republicans led Democrats on the generic ballot. According to this new Reuters poll, 38% of registered voters would pick the Republican candidate if midterm elections were today. How important was that generic ballot?
I'm always skeptical of generic ballots because it always comes down to the two candidates. But to see that increase shows that voters overall are feeling better about Republican leadership. President Trump's numbers are strong. We at the RNC have been in 26 states. We're taking that message to the voters. It is resonating. We're seeing that in all of our battleground districts and states that we're in. That's an important advantage we've had with our record fundraising, doubling the DNC, to be on the ground early and convey to voters the difference that we're making in their lives through good policy in Washington.
And the president will attend a joint fundraiser between the RNC and the president's reelection campaign in New York tonight. Tell us about that. It's been another big month for fundraising for the RNC, raising $13 million in April. Was that a record for a non-presidential election year?
It is. We have broken every record for any political party in a non-presidential year, and a lot of that is because of President Trump. He brings an energy to our party at the small dollar level, and obviously tonight we're going to have a big fundraiser in New York. The other thing is President Trump is completely invested in these midterms. Not only is he going to help fundraise, he's going to be on the campaign trail, and you see him at a rally. There is nobody who energizes our base more than President Trump, and that's why we're seeing high turnout in these primaries. And beyond that, we're delivering. He made promises, and he is keeping them, and the American people are taking notice.
So the money in April brings the net cash on hand to $43.8 million, crushing the DNC's total. That puts the RNC in a good position for the midterms. How do you spend that money? And also, in terms of the Democrats, there is an